we're very fortunate today. We have a really interesting person, Mr. Salman Bhojani. He has a heck of a background and a lot of wisdom to share. Just like in every other presentation we've done, I want to thank Bergville ISD, Fort Worth ISD. I would like to thank Grapevine Colleyville ISD for teaming up with us and allowing us the opportunity to give your students access to these incredible speakers, either in person live or virtually for those of us who have classes right now and cannot make it. I want to thank our friends at A&M Commerce for the generous support in terms of scholarship funding that they're starting to offer our students at TILBM, especially for those that want to start businesses. That is a big deal, and I cannot understate how incredible that is. So with that being said, with thanking all these folks, what I'm going to do now is transition to the bio. I'm going to read it verbatim from what we put together, because I suspect that's going to be the best way for you guys to get just a sense of the gravity of how cool Mr. Bhojani is and the rich background he has. After that, we'll stop screen sharing, we'll throw it to him, and he'll lead the way. So reading straight off it, Mr. Salman Bhojani is the co-founder and managing partner for Bhojani Law, PLLC. He works as a partner for the real estate investment firm BridgeCap Partners and has served as a council member and mayor pro term for the city of Euless prior to his Prior to his entrepreneurial activities in the legal field, Bhojani had served as the president for Jacksboro Realty LLC, worked as the staff editor for SMU Law Review, and founded Metro World Inc., overseeing multiple convenience stores and gas stations across the DFW Metroplex. Bhojani is a self-made businessman and community leader, immigrating to Texas as a teenager and working multiple minimum wage jobs while building his career and earning an education, later completing his BS in business administration from UT Dallas and earning a law degree from Southern Methodist University with a comparative law diploma from Oxford University. It's a heck of a story, and with that, I'm going to pass it on to Mr. Bhojani and get the ball rolling.
Thank you very much, Kristen, for that introduction. I really appreciate it. I hope everybody can hear me. I just want to make sure one last time to confirm that everybody can hear me and then see my screen as well.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Awesome. Well, without further ado, thank you so much for having me here. And, I look forward to sort of sharing my background as well as answering any questions you all may have. I'm sort of coming at this topic about connecting and making connections by sort of giving a little bit of my life story so that you guys can see I've been able to make connections since, a long time, and you'll see that. Let me get started. So a little background, I was born in Pakistan to a very large, humble family. I had 21 people living in one household, eating at one dining table and sharing a lot of things. I had 13 siblings. I was the youngest one of them all, so I had a lot of hand-me-downs from all my cousins and all my brothers and sisters at home. And 11 of us moved to Canada, actually, and when I was 10 years old. Completely different culture shock, new language, new climate. It was really cold, not as much cold in Pakistan, but here was minus 40 degrees Celsius, and we would have to walk to school. And even though there's like inches and inches of snow, and had to forge new relationships. And that's where sort of my, life story gets into forming new relationships. It has been really instrumental for my success as whatever I've done so far by building new relationships from there. And then we immigrated to America in the late 90s. We were in a business where we received a lot of attacks for being from this faith. At that time, America was not as compassionate to immigrants and people from different backgrounds, and so felt a lot of discrimination from there. And started off working at gas stations at $6 an hour, mopping floors, cleaning restrooms, and stocking shelves. It was just a way to put food on the table. It takes a lot of hours to put food on the table at $6 an hour, so I had to work 3 jobs to make ends meet. So I worked at 2 gas stations and 1 Walmart pharmacy stocking shelves. And so this is just a glimpse of the early careers that I've had. So when I was 4 years old, I wanted to be a doctor. And there are a lot of people that they say, okay, I want to be something at a very early age, and they actually achieve it. I'm an example that I was not able to achieve it. So if you look on the left-hand side, I have hemophobia. Basically, it's basically when I see blood, I can't I faint. And I didn't realize this a lot until I went to pre-med in Canada, and I took in the second year I took human anatomy, and the professor at that time showed a video of internal body organs, and I puked at that. And so I knew that that was sort of the end of my medical career, basically. So I had to change paths and thought about IT professional, being an IT professional at that time. And I graduated from UT Dallas as an IT, with an IT degree. But unfortunately, in 2003, there was a huge technology, bubble that had bursted, and it was really bad. So my family went through a financial crisis at that time. And so then I found myself, like I told you guys, working at gas stations at $6 an hour, mopping floors, and that was my third career. And then the fourth one was Walmart pharmacy. I worked as a pharmacy tech as well as over-the-counter stocker. And so the fifth career is my law degree. I went to SMU in the evening program. So I had my businesses. Actually, I bought some of the gas stations after 2003, and I had 4 gas stations in 2008 when I decided to pursue a law degree in the evening program at SMU. So in the morning, my schedule was 6 o'clock in the morning. I would start with my gas stations and work there until 5 p.m. And then 6 p.m. I had classes at SMU that started until 9:45 p.m. So it was a really packed day, and did that over and over for 4 years. I'm glad I had my family and my, to take care of all of them. But it was just a really, are y'all having a tough time hearing me? I just want to make sure.
No, I can hear you just fine. Thank you.
Okay. I don't know if the students can hear me.
Oh, yeah. Maybe we should check.
And Miss Varela, feel free to turn on the mic if you have any questions.
Yes, so we are working on it still. We have a microphone to be able to hear for the whole, but we've been telling the kids basically what you're basically saying at this point.
Oh, okay. Do you want me to wait for a few minutes until you get this figured out?
We don't have the actual people that work with this department. So we're working with the microphone now, and now everybody should be able to hear.
Oh, okay. Got it. Okay, cool.
All right.
All right, so I'm not sure if you're able to hear what the little before the part. I think I do want to talk about this sort of career change, because I think a lot of people think that they will work in one career for their entire life. I don't think that's more likely to happen, especially for your generation. I think it's most likely that you'll have between 5 to 7 careers in your entire lifetime. And so that's what I wanted to sort of hone in on, in this fact that you have to be sort of flexible to adapt to change as life throws different curveballs at you. And so I'm just giving you like 3 curveballs that the life threw at me. And, from starting at, wanting to be a doctor, then IT professional, and then gas station worker, then Walmart pharmacy tech, and then going to become an attorney. And so just, that's why we have to be adaptable and agile to make sure that whatever your passion is, follow that, and that may lead you to a new career. And that's why it's actually not a bad thing to have multiple careers in your life, because then you are a very unique person with your unique background and experiences. So I went to SMU Law School in the evening program, I was saying, and I'm glad that I had my wife and my family, that they took care of all the other issues while I took care of the gas station, my business, as well as the law school. And I created a lot of mentors while I was in law school. And that's something that I'm sure y'all are doing. And I think you need to continue doing that, is finding adults and others who you resonate with and who understand you, to be able to get advice from them, because they've been through a lot, they've seen life and how they can really make an impact in your life and give you advice for it. And my life has always been sort of getting outside my comfort zone and doing something that I'm not used to doing. And that's where I've made so many connections that I still hold on to, even through my high school or medical school, IT professional and all that. And that is what helps me become successful even right now. And another part of me wanted to sort of raise the bar for my kids, and that's why I also went to SMU Law School. So during my law school career, I worked at 9 internships at multiple organizations over a 4-year period. So I worked at the SEC, which is Securities and Exchange Commission, Department of Health and Human Services, Bankruptcy Court, the Appellate Court. I was a TA for one of the legal writing professors. And then I worked at a small firm, and then I also got an opportunity to work at Haynes and Moon. So Haynes and Moon is one of the largest law firms in North Texas, and it's headquartered in Dallas downtown. It also has an office in Fort Worth. And so when I started law school in my first semester at Career Services, I read an article that that's the best place to work for in North Texas. And so I looked at my goal and I said, okay, what do I need to accomplish that goal? So I started to network with attorneys that work there, so that way I could tell them my story, and then they could tell me what the best way to get into Haynes and Moon was. And so I was part of a lot of mentorship programs where the attorneys of Haynes and Moon connected with law students. And I was really, being able to make relationships with attorneys, judges, and through the clerkship programs and internship programs that I did, I got an offer to clerk there or work there in the summer of 2012. And after finishing, and I really worked hard in 2012 and impressed them so much that I got a full-time offer to come work for them right after that internship ended. So I was representing a lot of like American Airlines and AT&Ts and these big corporations for the first 2 years when I worked at Haynes and Moon. But I felt, what was my goal, right? Eventually, you have to go back to your values and what your passion is all about. And my passion was to represent small business owners like myself, to make sure that to represent them with their legal issues. And so that's when I was able to find on my own law firm. I peeled off from Haynes and Moon after 2015 and started my own law firm. It was just me and my wife that started. And then, now we have a group of 10 employees that we're really blessed to have that. But it allowed me to also have the flexible work-life balance. At Haynes and Moon, I was working 80 hours a week. In my own law firm, I was able to get more, livable, like 50 hours a week schedule. And also became a small business owner, and I wanted to represent small business owners. And we do a lot of pro bono work as well as attorneys. And so that's another thing that made me start my own practice. Wanted to give back to my community and also define the corporate culture, because attorneys, generally speaking, don't have too much time to do anything outside their law firm. Here in our firm, we do like these crazy things. The picture that you see here, it was taken a few years back. We had a ugly sweater day during Christmas time, during the Christmas week. And so, we all, wore different sweaters and actually had our clients vote who has the most unique sweater. And if you see number 5, that's Brian Patrick. He won that contest, and everybody voted for his sweater. So we do these sort of, out of the box ideas in our law firm, and do like every quarter we'll go to a nonprofit and do a nonprofit activity with them. And we shut down our firm for 3 hours. And another quarter we'll go to a bonding activity, do a top golf or axe throwing or different kind of activities that we do. So in sort of 2017 or so, I became very politically active because I felt like our country and our state was being sort of very polarized. And I think to a certain degree, it is still continuing that way. And so I wanted to bring more compassion and more civility and respect in our political discourses, and have people from different faiths and backgrounds in that. And so that's when I ran for Euless City Council. And it was very difficult. It was very difficult. It's difficult to be the first minority. I got a lot of, so I just, will quickly go over this, but, don't want to spend too much time on this. But, people gave me a lot of hateful speech at that time because I didn't look like them. And so they had a lot of, like Islamophobia was rampant at that time as well. So, they said, you're Muslim, therefore you're a terrorist. If you don't eat pork, then you don't have my vote. People told me that I'll try to bring Sharia law, which is not true, to Euless. And then people even said that I will make women wear hijab in the city of Euless, which is again ridiculous. I wouldn't be able to do that, and I don't want to do that anyways. And then some people said that I'm not American, that I should go back to my country of Pakistan, that I'm not born here, I'm an outsider. And I reasoned to them that by that definition, like most of America, people are immigrants from, even 3 generations or 4 generations back. Only the American, Indians, like the original Native Americans, are the original Americans, and with that definition. But again, there was no point in reasoning. It was just they wanted to give me hate. And then there was also like death threats that I received, which is really unfortunate. But we always kept a positive attitude in our campaign. And we showed our diversity, and we said there's so many people that are supporting us, and I wanted to sort of give back to my community. As an attorney, I could give more, add more value to city council, and that's what I tried to do in that. And so you see a lot of people sort of supporting us. This is my family on the bottom left, where my dad, mom, my kids at that time, and me, my wife. And, lo and behold, we worked hard. We knocked on 5,000 doors, made, several thousand phone calls, and won by 37 votes. and made history by being the first minority ever elected to the Euless City Council. And it was really a humbling experience for me. We did everything that we could, but yet we only won by 37 votes, right? So when people say that every vote matters, I'm a living example of that. If 37 people stayed home that day, I would not be elected to Euless City Council and would not be able to make history. And so you see on the right-hand side, that's the city council. That's how it looked like when I got elected. So I was the first minority and, first sort of immigrant from that community to be able to win Euless City Council. And then since I've been elected to Euless City Council, I've done a lot of community outreach. And that's another thing that you'll learn when you're making connections out there in the real world. You will realize that people may not come to you as much. You need to meet people where they're at, right? So if they're at a social media platform like TikTok, you need to go to TikTok, right? If they're in Be Real or if they're in their own community church, then you need to go there because that's where people are. And so that's what I learned to do. We had a lot of events so if you see in the middle, these are Cub Scouts in the city of Euless. So I would go to speak to them. Here's an event on the right-hand side with National Night Outs. I would always ride with the police and the fire to their different neighborhoods in Euless to be able to promote awareness about the city council and what they're there to help with the cities. And on the left-hand side is in Euless, we put together Arbor Days, which is one of the biggest events that we put in April. And so I wanted to just promote awareness on that as well. This year, you'll see we did when I got elected, we started a meeting with the Nepali community on a quarterly basis. And so on the right-hand side, this is the Nepali community. This is the city manager, the mayor of Euless. And then here's me. I like to take selfies. And so, was able to take a lot of selfies during that time as well. And so we met the Nepali community where they're at, as opposed to asking them to come to a certain event that everybody's invited to, so that we can hear their concern. On the left-hand side is the Tongan community. Euless is home to the third largest Tongan community outside Tonga, which is a Pacific island. And so, we started a quarterly meeting with them so that way we can really resonate with them and try to understand what are the issues that matter to them the most. And then this is a picture that we started with the Muslim community, the Ismaili Muslim community in Euless, where we went to their place of worship and talked about what their concerns are. And then after 3 years, I was also elected as a mayor pro tem, as Kristen mentioned. And then I realized that we don't have as effective representatives in Austin representing our interests from the HEB, Arlington area. And so that's when I sort of put my name in the hat. That was last year. I've been running for about 1.5 years now. And we've knocked on 27,000 doors. We've made 10,000 phone calls and brought in the primary, at least 1,000 first-time voters out to vote. And it's so important. And I get excited when new voters come to the political, and vote, because it's so important to hear everybody's perspective. Your voice matters and needs to be heard. And that's what we always tell our people. And I was really blessed on March 1st to win a 3-way primary, almost 60% of the votes, and avoid a runoff in that. And general election is coming up in just about 2 weeks, a little over 2 weeks. And when the votes are counted on November 8th, our campaign will be making history by electing the first Muslim and the first South Asian ever elected in the Texas history of the state of Texas to the Texas state legislature. And so I look forward to representing everyone with that as well. So again, coming back to the strategic networking, right? So I've told you a little bit about my life story, so that way you can now tie these stories back. It's so important. Social media, I've learned this in my campaign, I've learned in my business. Social media is really important to be there and do things and find people where they're at. So different social media platforms resonate with different people, right? Facebook, not a lot of young people on Facebook these days, right? So Twitter is one platform that I've been able to sort of have a good presence in. Instagram, but I have not forgotten TikTok. I do a lot of TikToks. I've got more than 10,000 likes and more than 1,000 followers on that. But I did not know this, but the young people in my area sort of said, hey, you need to do more TikToks to be able to resonate with young folks. And so I did that, right? That's important when you're trying to network and make connections. You need to make connections with people that are on certain platforms. And so I had no idea what Be Real was, but I also do that, right? It's really important. It's a really nice way to show what you're doing on a daily basis without having sort of a stage photo op. And so Be Real is also really important. And it's also important to have common ground with people that you network with. So if you're connecting with somebody and you really are passionate about, for example, climate change or education, early childhood education, or whatever you're passionate about, with sports or whatnot, then it's important to find that common ground and then network with people. So that way you're talking to people that are like-minded, and then they're giving you their perspective and you're giving them your perspective. LinkedIn is an amazing platform. I'm not sure how many people are on LinkedIn, at your age, but I think it's a really good way to get people. Even if your people that are your age are not there, there are a lot of adults there. And so if you have a really good LinkedIn profile, you may have, adults, and you can connect with them from now. So that way, let's say if you really want to work in a certain area of law or a certain area of your business, then you can start networking with people right now. And then, another thing that has helped me get to where I'm at is always checking in with people. So, every day I take time to reach out to 5 or 10 new people, or not new people, but then reach out to old people that I have had in my contact, but I haven't reached out to them for maybe a year or two. Especially during the pandemic, I did a lot of that, to be reaching out to them and just checking in with you to see how things are going, whether it's family, it's friends, it's teachers, it's mentors. So that way you're fresh on their mind, because networking is all about not letting other people forget who you are, right? So if that is reaching through LinkedIn or another social media platform or through text messaging, it's really important to keep fresh those contacts. And then, you attend a lot of events, right? I'm glad that you're attending this kind of event where there's a lot of new speakers that come up and you can connect with them as well, and continue to make introductions. And not, like in my law firm, law school, SME Law School, I attended a lot of events. And at the end of the event, I went up to the speaker and introduced myself, and then got their contact information. So I was able to reach out to them after the fact, and then set up a meeting with them, so that way I could get more perspective from them. And so if you like a speaker or something, just feel free to reach out to them, because once you've been successful, people are more willing to give back and pay it forward, because somebody helped us and somebody helped me quite a bit. And so I'm happy to sort of connect with more youth and really pay it forward and see how I can add value to their life or their questions. And you have to make time for networking, right? It's not just going to happen organically. You need to make sure that you're at least once a month, go to an event where you'll meet new people, because that's when you'll be able to make connections with people that you didn't think that you'll be able to make. In campaign world, I mean, you're making connections all day long, every day. But I think in the real life, I think if you don't take out time on a monthly basis and put it on your calendar, it may not happen as much. And then I'm really big on using technology. So artificial intelligence and blockchain, I work with all the time. But maybe at your age, you can try to see building your contacts is one of the biggest things that I've been able to do. So I have about 6,000 people in my contacts on my cell phone. And it's so important that I've tried, and whenever I make a new contact, I write down where I met them, what date, and what the context was. So when I go back to sending them checking in text messages, I can see where they're at, like how did I meet them, and what's the connection that we have. So that way I can reach out to them on a periodic basis. So once a year, I check in with all my contacts just to see how things are, because that may remind them, hey, I needed something here that Salman can help me with. And that's how, it's all about my approach is, how can I help you? That's how I'm sending the text message, that I just want to check in with you, hope all is well, your family is well. If there's anything that I could do to help you, please let me know. And then that's how people just are thrilled that I've been able to reach out to them. So they also then give me business in the law firm or do all sorts of things that I don't expect that from them, but that's what the byproduct is. And so Google Contacts is really awesome. I have 6,000 contacts, which I tag them in different backgrounds, different professions, and different areas where I met them as well. And then, creative ways of reaching out. I talked about LinkedIn. LinkedIn has a really nice way to reach out to people that are in your affinity group or interest area. That's another way to do it. Obviously, direct texting is also good. And then once you get to a point where people are able to meet with you, then Calendly is a really great tool that you can use to set up where people can find time on your calendar and meet up with you. So if you're only available after 3 p.m. or 4 p.m., you can just say 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. and then people can find time on your calendar and easily able to sort of meet with you and make more new connections. Video and audio, teleconference, we've learned that a lot during the Zoom, during the pandemic time and all that. But when I'm on Zoom, I'm not just being a passive listener. I'm also reaching out in the chat groups and saying, or chat box and saying, okay, my name is Salman Bhojani, I'm attorney, I'm doing this or whatnot. So that way, again, I'm fresh on everybody's mind. So whoever's attending that Zoom is seeing my contact information and I'm reaching out to them. So making connections is also about being driven, being an active participant in any meeting that you're attending, as opposed to just sort of passively watching something. Creating a good email list. I talked about my contacts, I've got, I think 6,000 contacts, but maybe like about 5,000 emails or 4,000 emails. And it's good to create that email. If you have a passion about something that's really important to you, you can probably blog about it, or you can probably do a vlog about, your interest. And that's when you can be the go-to person, because you're an expert in your field. So whatever field that you think or area of interest you have, if you research more about that, then you'll be the go-to person. I was the go-to person for tax and real estate in the law firm at Haynes & Boone. So people came to me and said, hey, Salman, I need to pick your brain on real estate and tax. And that's what's really good when you get a job, or when you're even right now, if you like something, read more, research more about it, and try to create blogs so that way people know. There's this NPR radio station that somebody from TikTok was invited to, because that person, that was a very young person, was doing TikToks on economy and the inflation. And so there was an NPR radio host that connected with this person, had no prior experience whatsoever, but because they were doing so many videos on inflation, which is really on everybody's mind, that she was invited to speak at the radio station. So things like that can happen, that can really boost your career in certain avenue. And then, just call time, right? The best way to reach out to folks is being on the phone, either in person or on the phone call, to block their calendar and trying to reach out to them and add to your network, and just start networking through phones as well, because that's really intimate as opposed to just texting people. A lot of people just text back and forth. It's great, it's effective, but it's not as warm as meeting somebody or getting on the phone with them. And then just getting involved, like I talked about about the organizations that matter most to you. And it's easier now with you don't need any travel time. With virtual meetings, you can connect with so many virtual meetings happening all around the country or the state. And then, another thing I help doing is, because I have such a huge network, I help people get connected. So if somebody comes and says, okay, I need an immigration lawyer, I have several immigration lawyers that I can connect them with. And so that's adding value to them. And then they'll remember that hey, Salman helped me connect with these people. So that just builds goodwill with you as well. All right, and I'll end with this, key takeaway, sort of, if you were not able to hear a lot of it, I would really focus on these 4 things. Every interaction is a networking opportunity for you, whether you're like today in this meeting, or you're meeting with your professor, or just out and about in the community. It's okay to walk up to somebody and introduce yourself, and then say what you're passionate about in sort of this closed setting that you have. Put yourself out there, go outside your comfort zone. That's, again, I've told you, my life story is all about going outside your comfort zone, because if you stay in your comfort zone, you're not going to be able to excel as much as if you go out and really make an impact. Leveraging technology to grow your network is also really important. And then just making sure that you're involved in your community. And if you're eligible to vote, I would really recommend, because your voice is important. Your voice matters, and you should go vote as well. And here's my contact information if anybody needs to reach out to me. With that, I'll open up to questions.
Awesome. Again, that's pretty cool. I'm going to open up the chat now to everyone. And real quick, before I do open up the chat, I do want to add one last thing, if that's all right. So Mr. Bhojani, maybe he'll be a doctor, like of law or something eventually. But anyway, Mr. Bhojani, he used the word networking a lot, guys. And I remember when I was in high school and in college, I personally hated that phrase. I hated when I would meet some student or professional that says, you should go network with me, bro. And I'd be like, I don't want to network. I want to make relationships. And that handicapped me for years, because I misunderstood what the term networking means. It was only when I moved to DC, and more importantly, when I came back from DC, that it clicked, that what Mr. Bhojani is telling you guys, it clicked with me at 21. And the truth is, networking is building relationships that are meaningful within reason and with purpose and intention, right? Networking isn't knowing a lot of people, although if you do it well, that's going to happen. It is creating what Mr. Bhojani said, a relationship, seeing how you can help them, and then in return, how they can help you. And that's networking. So for those of you in the audience, and I suspect there's going to be a few that it's not clicking yet, don't deny, like that's the case, basically. Don't make my mistake. Networking is building relationships. It is a matter of just choosing who you're investing your time into, and then taking time to grow that relationship, and then asking them who they would recommend connecting you with. That is the case. Anyway, hopefully that'll protect others that don't make the same mistake I made. With that being said, the chat's now open, guys. Go for it. Throw any questions. Mr. Bhojani, hopefully I'll let you lead the way in who you want to answer.
Sure. Who has the first question?
You know, I don't know. I don't know if I could not tell you. Probably a lot of stuff is getting lost in the medium.
So there might be some technical difficulties still on their end. Again, traditionally the students would log in with their own tablets and other things, but because of the challenges they're having with IT right now, we might need to do it the old-fashioned way where they get handed a mic and then we try to hear it to the best of our abilities.
Does anyone want to ask a question since our chat isn't available? We have a microphone. You come to the microphone and ask a question. Yes. What questions do you guys have in reference to?
To play things safe while they're figuring out the mic journey, I did have some questions that we had put together in the event that students were having trouble getting to communicate with you. And one of the questions that we had put together was, what are the biggest, well, you know what, actually, how about this? What is one of the hardest lessons that you learned about building and maintaining contacts that you would strongly alert students to be aware of as they enter the professional world?
Yeah, I guess you sort of spoke to a little bit about that this networking, building connections is not something very formal. It happens in a very organic way where you're just meeting new people all the time and trying to, figure out and talk to them about your interest, and then really connecting with those in a meaningful way. Once you find somebody that it has the same or resonates with you and has the same interest and personality as you. And so it's just, a lot of people think of mentorship as, I need to formally ask somebody about, being a mentor. There's no such thing like that. Like, I've mentored so many, and I have been mentored by so many in a very informal setting, informal way, where we reach out to each other whenever we need it, or maybe for a year, we will not reach out to each other at all. So there's nothing formal about it. Just be very casual, and try to get to know as many people as possible, and then really connect deeply with those that you care about or resonate with you.
If you get close to the mic, yeah. Go ahead.
How young do you hire?
Sorry?
How young do you hire?
For what?
For what?
For your law firm.
Oh, I think 18 plus, I guess. Yeah, I mean, we mostly hire attorneys, but we have paralegals as well that have completed their paralegal certification. And then, we have receptionists and other admin staff as well.
How about I piggyback off that and say, in general, how would a young person would be 18 very soon, but maybe isn't quite, how would they go find those kinds of positions, whether it be your law firm or some other law firm or some other industry? Any tips on getting their foot in the door in a similar way?
Yeah, so every summer we have a lot of interns that come into the law firm, and we give them a grasp of what a law firm does. And we also have a title company here, so we do a lot of real estate transactions. And so that's a good way to get your foot in the door and trying to apply for those internships. I mean, we have them, but there's a lot of law firms that have those internship opportunities during the summer. And that's the best time to work on a day-to-day basis with the law firm, with attorneys, and then see for yourself if this is something that you want to work at. Because it's not, people think that, I argue so well, therefore I'll be a good attorney. That doesn't always translate well, because most of the attorneys nowadays is like, the practice is more like drafting documents as opposed to going to the court, because 90% of the disputes settle before even getting into a lawsuit phase. And 95% of lawsuits get settled before a trial. So generally speaking, attorneys don't get too close to a trial and argue. It's more about drafting documents, writing really well. And so I think you need to see and work into a law firm in order for you to see if this is the right fit for you. And then once you have interned, then whoever you're applying for jobs at will like it more, because you've demonstrated interest, right? Every employer wants to see, do you have demonstrated interest in this profession or in this, this company? And this is a good way of sort of learning about that.
Because he gave some really good characteristics that you have
Right here?
that might make you a great lawyer. And I know there are. Okay, come. You have another question?
My question. Thanks.
I can just ask it to the computer.
Oh, like this?
Yeah.
Oh, my question is, like, do you have to have like a certain level of education for it? Like,
To be an attorney?
yes.
Yeah, so it's a good question. So you have to finish your undergraduate degree and then be able to pass the bar exam. Generally speaking, so Texas for a long time required you to graduate through law school in order to sit for the bar exam. Right now, there's no requirement for you to actually finish law school. You can sit for the bar exam, take your undergraduate degree, and then just, be able to practice law. And even before practicing law, like I said, you can even start early as a paralegal. So you can do a paralegal certification and start doing paralegal work to see if this is something that interests you as well. And then, so then apply to different positions. Go ahead. What's the next one?
I have a question. How do you push through discrimination?
Yeah, it was tough. You have to have a thick skin, especially when you're in the public sphere. And I think family is what I go back to, and a lot of mindfulness activities and all that to really keep calm when there's a lot of things that are going outside and people are giving you hate. You need to be able to take that hate and soak that in, and then be able to turn around and give positive vibes to people. And it's challenging. I'm not going to say it was easy, especially when somebody tells your wife like that she's a terrorist and that she should go back, and it just hurts a lot. But at the end of the day, I think what I've been able to understand is the people here, people in ULIS, people in Texas, they're not mean. I think they're not understanding. They've seen some people in the news, and they think that's a terrorist, and they think that I would do the same. And that's why they're ill-informed, I would say, as opposed to being mean. And so when I sit down and talk to them and tell them that, look, I'm doing this because I love my country, I love my state, and love my city, and I want to give back. That's why I'm doing this. I think then people understand it more. So you have to figure out what is the root cause of that discrimination or hate. Like during 9/11, there was a lot of hate, but I could see that if one group of people came to my country and did really bad things in my country, I would be looking at similar group of people and saying, could they have done it? Could they have done it, right? And so they're being misinformed. And so I just try to inform them and try to have the patience, which is, like I said, very difficult. I'm not saying it's easy, but I think you have to have the thick skin to be able to persevere through that. And if I could do it, I think, anybody could do it. I hope that there's not a lot of discrimination that you all will face. But if to the extent that you do, just take it with a grain of salt and say, it comes from a place of getting safety for themselves, right? Everybody is worried about themselves and their life. They want to protect their kids, they want to protect their families, and that's how it's coming. And so you just need to give them a different perspective, and then they'll think, because, when I say, hey, a lot of people tell me, hey, my doctor is Muslim, he's such a great doctor and I like it. So when they see certain number of people around them that are giving them good vibes and doing positive things for the community, they will see that it's not as bad to have faith in a Muslim elected official that can do good for everybody, not just for that faith.
I have another question.
Sure.
How do you get out of your comfort zone?
Yeah, that's a great question. That's the crux of it. I think if I can say one thing that y'all can do is just going outside your comfort zone. It's tough because like I always think, right? So like even before doing this presentation, right? I mean, I've done a lot of presentations, but when I started doing presentation at the early on, like I was so nervous. Like I did not, want to do it, but it's just committing to it. Then you have to do it, right? So I take a point to commit to things that are outside my comfort zone. And then if I put it on the calendar, I'm like, I have to do it. I make myself do it, which again is a very hard thing to do. But I just tell myself that in order to be successful, this is something that I need to do. And so at this point, I mean, I can talk in front of 10,000 people, 50,000 people. It doesn't matter to me, right? Before I was really concerned about talking to even like 5 people, I'll be like, I don't want to talk, right? So I think there's something that I think some study that says if you do something for 10,000 hours, then you become a pro at it. And so that's what I tell myself every time, that, hey, if I do this enough time, that I put myself out there more vulnerable, where people can, maybe laugh at me and do different things, then I will be more stronger that way, right? And that's also part of the same question that you had, that if you face discrimination, I mean, I've done this so many times now that it doesn't matter to me what people are actually telling me that are negative. I try to go back to them and say, why are they doing this way? And then that's how I'm able to keep myself doing it again and again and again. And that's actually what has made me successful. So one reason I would say that I keep doing that is it makes me successful, right? So humans are really good about repeating the actions that they find success in, right? So first time I spoke, I didn't speak well. And then second time I spoke, maybe I spoke a little bit better. So it made me feel like, okay, no, this is really good. I'm really able to reach out to my audience and being able to connect with them and inspire them to do great things. And so that's how I keep doing it again and again, because it's successful.
You said you changed your career path 5 different times, and the 5th one being law. What led you to law, and how long did it take for you to finally set your sights on law as your final career?
Sorry, can you repeat the last sentence? How long?
How long did it take for you to set your eyesight on law as your final career?
Yeah, thanks for that question. Like I said, I think you all will go through multiple careers in your lifetime. And for me, it was more necessity, right? Like I started, being a doctor and I couldn't see blood. So I had to move to something else in IT, and I had to move to something else because the .com bubble crashed and all that. But law was more because I wanted to do something more honorable. I was, in a gas station industry. In 2008, my daughter was born. And we were going through a downturn. So I just had an internal awakening in me, because I thought that she would come up, because I don't drink alcohol, I don't smoke. So I felt like my daughter would grow up to ask me, why are we selling alcohol and cigarettes when we don't consume them ourselves? And so that made me realize that maybe this is not the right career for me, just to be in gas station. I need to do something more honorable. And so I started to network with some business owners and some folks that I really admired, like my mentors. And then basically they recommended, why not law? And I told them, I have no idea, I don't even know any attorneys. I don't know how I'm going to bridge that gap. Attorneys are so high, they're so honorable and they do such great work. I'm just a small business owner. And so they said, take the LSAT, which is a law school admission test. And I took that, I did really well. And I said, okay, let's go ahead and, let me apply to SMU. And I got an SMU. So that's what made me get into law. And at that time, you had to go through law school in order to be an attorney, which I think is a good way to go, because you get good, training on being good attorney in these law school years. And so, yeah, it was just something that people had recommended. So that's why I say mentors are really good for y'all to, and again, not a formal mentorship program, right? But just finding people that you resonate with, that speak to you in your way. And I think then being able to then come back and say, okay, now I've got, any questions you have, run it through them, and then they will help you see things very clearly.
That's brilliant. So we are at 12:30 in the next moment. I certainly don't want to take too much of your time, and I do fully understand that a lot of these students are probably going to run to class in a few moments. So with that, we're going to probably wrap it up for the day. Before we close it, though, are there any final things you might want to share with us, Mr. Bhojani, before we close up the sessions?
Yeah, no, thank you so much for having me today. And like I said, it's so important not to be a passive spectator in life, right? You have to be really active. So even if this session or whatever session you're in, it's very easy and it's a good tendency to just get on your phone and do something. But if you really listen and participate actively in anything that you do, you'll get so much more from life and be able to be more successful, I think.
Brilliant. This is, well, we really do appreciate it. As you can hopefully hear, they're clapping,
Oh, thank
or
you
at
very
least
much.
we can
Yeah.
visually see they're clapping.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
But with that being said, thank you, sir. And yeah, I guess we're good to go, folks. Thank you for sharing some of y'all's times to tag into this. If you have any future questions, please do feel free to reach out to Chancellor Gerard, myself, Professor Poe too, and we'll do our best to connect you guys to the right folks. So yeah.
Thank you.